Aston Villa are your 25-26 Europa League champions, and it's the final weekend of the season for most of our leagues around Europe. Plus, we have a special guest here to help us break it all down. All this and more on episode 137 of the No Business Soccer Podcast. So, let's dig in. That's right. Welcome back to the No Business Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, Snooze, and we got a patched together team today. We have, of course, JFam the Brainiac hanging out on the ones and twos. Danny P's out with his family, and Vic, Hype Man Vic, is sipping margaritas on the beach in Mexico. So we called in our friend from Brazil, Yuri. How are you doing, my friend?
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm 100% okay. My team is playing right now. We are losing the game, but I'm still happy.
I didn't even know. That is my bad. I should have looked at the schedule. I didn't even see that. But, Vi Corinthians, we should be good to go. What are we playing? What is it, the league game, or is it Libertadores, or what's going on?
Exactly. We're playing for Libertadores right now. The thing is that we are very good right now. Go to the quarterfinal in Copa Libertadores, which is good. The team today, they are not like the best, because the coach was trying to save some players, for maybe the World Cup and etc. That's why we are playing against Peñarol, they score, but okay, we are in the middle of wait.
Yeah, we'll find out. It'll all even out in the end, so it's fine. Okay, well, hopefully this brings good luck and we get a win for Corinthians, because we don't have Brazilian teams other than the teams that our friends support, so we're all Corinthians over here. Let's do it. Need to go over there one day. That's right. I keep telling every time you send me something, I always say I need to go out. They need to check them out. So one day we'll be there.
This is waiting for you, man. This is waiting for you. Yes, that's it for you.
Yes, look at that. I love it too. The black and white. I love it. It's all looking good. We can have another Brazilian takeover soon because the World Cup's coming around the corner. But today we're sticking to the schedule. We got a lot to cover, sir. We have a European final that we got to take a look at. We have to cover the final weeks in Serie and in La Liga and the Prem, and all of the goings on inside those leagues. Get everyone hyped up for the games, because as excited as we are to see the conclusion of these seasons, it also means we're not going to see these teams in these leagues for a couple of months. Which, we have the World Cup. Usually World Cup years makes it not too bad, because it's really like you only have 2 weeks with no football and then you're right back to it. So, it's all good. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that, but let's jump in. Let's first go to the UEFA competitions. I saw that. I wasn't even going to correct. I was like, you know what? No one's going to catch that, but it's all good. UEFA competitions. And so we had the Europa League final, Yuri, and we had a great, well, I can't say a great game. I was very excited for it, but it ended up being a pretty one-sided affair. So let's go through it, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. Aston Villa cruised to their first trophy in 30 years as they dominate Freiburg 3-0 in the Europa League final. The first 25 minutes or so were competitive, but after Villa had a little time to figure out just what Freiburg were all about, it was all villains all night. And Villa got the breakthrough goal thanks to Yuri Tillemans. Hey, maybe it's because his name, same name, spelled differently, though, I guess, spelled differently. But either way, Tillemans gets a terrific a corner, set piece, whatever you want to call it. Well, he virtually was unmarked, hits a volley into the net, past the keeper. And Villa get their second goal just minutes later in the first half at stoppage time through an amazing curling ball from Buendía. The 2 goals are absolutely unbelievable, and you just kind of felt that the wind was taken right out of the Freiburg sails unless they could find a way to come back in the second half and get a quick fire goal, but they were unable to because, as we all know, Unai Emery is the master of winning the Europa League. He knows how to get it done, and his team came out of the break, and Morgan Rogers gets the third and final dagger of a goal, and they cruise to the finish line from there. It's a sad outing from Freiburg, who've been so much better than they showed on Wednesday night, but the quality difference, Judy, was on display. It was undeniable, and the wage bill gap is absolutely insane between these two clubs. It was David and Goliath, and we know how it is in football, my friend. Goliath mostly wins, and that's how it just works in football.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I believe we talk about Unai Emery, right?
Yes, that's right. He's
awesome, right?
Yes.
Finally, right?
This guy is one of the best coaches in the competitions, in UEFA competitions. Now, he hasn't won a Champions League yet, but as far as winning the second tier, the Europa League, I mean, that was one of the stats I was going to share. This is Unai Emery's 5th Europa League trophy after winning it with Villarreal. He won it with Sevilla and now Aston Villa, which puts him level on trophies. And it's different because, again, different level of competition, but he's level on trophies in UEFA competitions with Zidane, Louis van Gaal, and Jose Mourinho. So, I mean, big company. Like, that's awesome. Unai Emery is doing his thing. And
exactly, he's awesome.
The thing about Unai Emery too is that he never seems phased. Even through this season, Aston Villa have not been the best team. They've dropped a lot of points. I think that at one point they had gone, it was 8 or 9 league games without a win. Now that's league games. They dominated the Europa League. I mean, they were fine in that one, but they just never gave up. It always felt like it was going to come down to either them getting in the Champions League through getting in the top 5 or winning the Europa League, which they just did. So congrats to them. And I told you I had some funny facts. So you ready for them, sir? Here's some funny stuff. All 3 clubs that Unai Emery has won the Europa League with, the same competition, they have Villa in their name, Yuri. Sevilla, Villa, Villarreal, and Aston Villa. So I don't know if that's the sauce right there, right? I don't know if that's the sauce,
I don't know.
But they all have it.
There's some magic. Yeah, there's some magic with those names.
Yeah, crazy stuff there. All have Villa in the name. He can't do it, and if it's not a Villa team, apparently. Another random fact that we'll talk about here is that it makes it 3 consecutive years of European final appearances for Jadon Sancho, and none of them were with his parent club of Manchester United. He went to the Champions League final 2 years ago with Dortmund. He won the Conference League final with Chelsea last season. And then, of course, he just won the Europa League with Aston Villa, all while being on loan from United. So maybe they just need to keep him for one season, Yudi. Get something done.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
That's true.
And I don't even think he hasn't even been a big part of these teams. But hey, I mean, it's a trend at this point. You know, he's won 3 of them. And you know what? Give me just a moment. Let's see. Okay, we're good there. I thought my wife had texted me, but she's asleep probably. So that is it for your Europa League final. What a great season. And I should have brought it over here. Actually, give me a second. Check this out. Oh, look at this. I actually got to see this team, this Aston Villa winning team in the Europa League this season against Basel whenever I went. So maybe I'm the luck charm, huh? Maybe. Not really.
That's awesome. Yes. It's amazing.
And
I believe that we need to talk about Emiliano Buendía, no? Because I know, at least here in Brazil, this type of player, it's something that but we are missing a lot of people like him, you know. And I was watching the game, and like, he was stunning in the game, right? So he was the way that you were like managing the things and the goals and everything, it's amazing. In the past we had players like Kaká in Brazil, and Ronaldinho that was able to manage the midfielder and giving goals and assistance but I don't know what's happening here in Brazil in particular, that we are not producing players like this anymore. No, we are producing a lot of left wings and etc. attacking in general, but those type of midfielder teachers, and if you can say like this, we don't have it anymore. But Emiliano Buendia, it's the player that I love to see, love to watch.
I agree. I think you're exactly right, because he's almost like a similar player to Kevin De Bruyne, where they're a goal scoring attacking midfielder, but more or less they set up play, they create play more than they're attacking.
Constructing, yes,
exactly. They're the ones that are controlling the pace of the game, getting their team up. And then you're right to call it out before we even get out of here. Buendía, I mean, he gets an assist from Morgan Rogers. He gets the amazing goal for their second goal. Just an amazing game for him. And he's really been good in the second half of the season. And he's not making the call up for Argentina. I believe he's Argentina, yes. But he has I mean, that they're so stacked. I'm sorry to say that. I know Brazil, Argentina, I don't want to talk about
it's totally fine.
But he's making a claim to that team, and maybe that performance will be able to get over the line. But yeah, you're right. He is a lot of fun to watch, and we'll see who's going to be there, because there's a lot of rumors that Morgan Rogers are gone, maybe Unai Emery. But I mean, I doubt it with the Champions League looming now. So good stuff. And even though it wasn't a great game, I feel like we should give our flowers to Freiburg before we get out, because Freiburg, what I heard on a podcast is that in the Bundesliga, Freiburg is like everyone's second favorite team. You have your favorite team, like your Dortmunds and your Bayerns, but then you're like, Freiburg is the real team, because they're one of the only teams that operates at a plus in the money category, meaning they don't buy a bunch of players. They usually ramp them up through the academy, sell them on, and they just do things financially the right way. And so for them to get into this spot, their first time ever getting into a final, it's the way that the Premier League is dominating right now. What are you going to do about it? Either way, they got to a final, and that was cool. So applaud them for that. Okay.
Yep.
Anything else on this game, Yuri?
Well, I think on a final comment that Freiburg, I don't know, at least for this specific game, they showed a lot of intensity, organization, during the game. But yeah, Villa was like killing it, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Way too strong. You could tell the quality difference. And I think what I've noticed with the Premier League teams now is that everyone has a good starting 11, or you wouldn't be in this competition. And yes, Aston Villa's starting 11 will usually be better, more quality than Freiburg or whoever else. But the difference you start to see, UD, is whenever the substitutions come on, right? Where the Freiburg bench is coming off with people that aren't nearly as top quality as the Premier League guys. And this just happens that way. But yeah.
It's really the national team of France,
Exactly.
It's like almost better than the players, It's great, Yeah.
Their B team could be in the World Cup too if they were qualifying. So exactly like that.
France easily can have like 2-3 teams easy, That's it. There's a lot of quality there, a lot of quality players, and it's the same thing with Premier League in general, and also all the substitutions in general, they like keeping the same levels. It's crazy. It's insane.
And that's why you have the two more competitions finals that are coming up. The Conference League has Crystal Palace, and the Champions League has Arsenal. So it's just the trend right now. But Aston Villa, congrats on their 25-26 Europa League title. Good stuff. So I think it's time to move on to the regularly scheduled programming, which means we're moving to Italy and we're going to Serie A. Okay. We're starting off with our top match in Serie A match day 38, which is the final match day for all of these. So it's going to be crazy. There's only one game in Serie A, though, that has really big stakes for both sides of the pitch. And that game is Cremonese taking on Como. Como are going to Cremonese. And of course, whenever we talk about a result for Cremonese, it's very simple. They need to win and they need to hope that Lecce lose. And they could also draw and hope that Lecce lose because they split the series with one win apiece. And I believe that would go to goal differential after that. It's weird because it's not the same way that it is in other leagues. But we call them here the Milkmen, are behind by 1 goal. So it's possible, but winning is the best way to do it for Cremonese, except that Como are fighting to get into the top 4, which means they're fighting to get in the Champions League. And essentially it comes down to either Como, Juve, Milan, or Roma. And currently Roma and Milan occupy the 3rd and 4th spots, but they're only 2 points ahead of Como and Juve. So if Como need to beat Cremonese to be able to really, really say they did all they could to get into that top 4. And Yudi, we were talking about it right before we came on air. How crazy would it be if Como end up getting into the Champions League, right?
That's like rising star from Italy with a lot of investments, right? We needed to admit, a bunch of investments. In a different type of investments, it's different the way that the leaders and the president of Como are working with the team. It's totally different. You need to compare with the rest of the teams in general. I don't know, but let's see how the things will be in the future. But for sure, this game in particular will be totally skin in the game. So pressure on the both sides, and let's see it.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how Cremonese can actually do, because on paper you would think that Como could get this pretty easy, but we call it a wounded animal in the US. I don't know if you have a saying like this in Brazil, but like wounded animal as in even though it's a small animal, it feels wounded. Its back's on the wall, so it's ready to attack you. That's how it kind of like Cremonese is in this one. So we'll see if it happens that way. Okay, moving on. We have Friday, Fiorentina taking on Atalanta, and not sure why this is a standalone game, honestly, and why it's on a Friday, but maybe it's because it doesn't mean too much to either side. Our Fiorentina, and I say our Fiorentina because, we went to the game and we got the kits. We're all Fiorentina'd out over here. They get a home game but have nothing riding on it, really. Atalanta, they do need just a point, though, to make sure that they stay above Bologna to finish in that Conference League spot. And so if they don't end up getting that point, it's very possible that they get through. And now the reason why I think this one is on Friday, UD, is because on Saturday, we have Bologna taking on Inter. And if Atalanta were to lose, then Bologna would need a win here to see them bump out we call them the AT aliens for that Conference League spot next season. I honestly don't think that Inter will be locked in and ready to play this game. Why, Yudi? They already won the league. What do they have to play for? But if Bologna could get all 3 points, they would be very big. But the problem is, because Fiorentina and Atalanta play on Friday, Bologna will know what they need to get. And if Atalanta win, then this game will pretty much be for nothing. So we'll see.
And I believe the real question is, can Fiorentina do them a favor?
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. And can they do them a favor? We'll see. Fiorentina have been spotty, but they were in the relegation zone for a while, and now they're just trying to get to the offseason. But they can get one more win. We'll see. Okay, Lazio take on Pisa also on Saturday, and it's the last hurrah for Saudi with Lazio, but neither team has anything to play for, so not too much to say there. We move to Sunday, because we have 2 mid-table-ish teams in Parma and Sassuolo going through. We've talked about Sassuolo a lot this season because they are a newly promoted side and they are killing it. They're already mid-table, not even worried about relegation, but there's nothing riding on this game.
No fear, Napoli, no consequences.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing that they're doing. I say they're halfway on the beach already, Yuri. They're ready for their vacation for a holiday. So Napoli taking on Udinese. Napoli, they're confirmed in the top 4. Udinese are 10th, so really nothing going on there. And then we have Milan taking on Cagliari, which this one, it does mean a lot because Cagliari, they confirmed their safety last weekend. So again, pressure not on them. But Milan in this game, they need to get a win, which would see them stay above Como and Juve for the Champions League spots. If they draw, there's a possibility that they still could drop out. So it's a must win on their end. And now, how big was that Genoa game last weekend whenever we look at Milan? Because before that Genoa win last weekend, they were terrible. They were losing every match, or at least not winning one. And then they get that win, and now they need just one more, Yudi, to get into that top four. It's a lot of pressure, but I think from an American standpoint, we've been asking for Milan to get some mojo back, some Pulisic momentum, and so hopefully we see that here.
Milan needs to win. There is no other option, right? The point is that Milan, to me, it's like a sleeping giant. They needed to wake up. For years we are waiting Milan to return to the glory times. But let's see this game. It will be very interesting.
And they need to get into the Champions League to ensure that they continue. It's such a big deal for the Italian teams too, like to get the extra money that the Italian league isn't bringing in domestically. It's such a big deal. So yes, we'll see if Milan can get that done. We talked about Cremonese and Como, and Hellas Verona and Roma up next. Roma in the fourth spot in the table, and really just need to beat the second worst team in Serie A, Hellas Verona, who've already been relegated, and they're safely in the top four, which would be a very cool story because as we know, Claudio Ranieri, he left last season. There's a lot of drama with him being in the box office or in the executive suite this year, but Gasperini comes in from Atalanta, and his first season, he's taking Roma possibly to the Champions League, which is really cool. It just shows that, Atalanta, they're fighting to stay in seventh place without him. And Roma, they're getting into the Champions League. Possibly. They have to win, but it seems like they're probably going to get into the Champions League, and that's all because of Gasperini. So what a coach. What a coach over there in Italy. Okay, let's see. We're moving on. Lecce and Genoa. Lecce they can't really look at the schedule and assume that Como are going to beat Cremonese, because all accounts would probably say that Como are going to get that win, but it's very likely but they just need to go out there and win. Then we're talking about Lecce beating Genoa, 3 points at home against this team. It seals the deal. That is a big matchup because they can get relegated if Cremonese end up finding a way to get past Como. I don't think they will, but we'll find out for sure. And this is on Sunday. Yeah, I'm getting my notes twisted up here. Torino taking on Juve. And this one, it's a spicy one. Yes, it's a spicy one. They got a Turin derby. They're eternal enemies. And in most cases, you would say that Torino have absolutely nothing to play for, which on paper is correct, Yudi. But in the sense of a derby, a rivalry, they could keep their rival Juve from getting into the top four and beat them. And that's, what more is there to that? There's no other reason to be hyped up for this match than that. So this one will be lot of fun. It's be a lot of fun.
And also Juve has to win this game, right? To make the
to even have a chance.
Yeah, no option here.
What's I was gonna say, what is Corinthians? Is it who's the biggest rival?
Palmeiras, our
Palmeiras.
enemy.
So imagine, to get into the biggest competition, you have to beat Palmeiras last season, or last game. Like that's what this one feels like for Juve, and it's
exactly
all to play for. Spicy stuff there. Okay, that is it for the match day. Let's jump to the table real quick, and we'll take a look at that. Okay, let me pull it up on my end too. Here we go, so I can see that. Okay, so we already know that looking at the table, we've known for a couple weeks now that Inter are on that top spot. Napoli locked up the second spot, or at least they locked up the Champions League. They're followed by Milan and Roma for those top four spots. And again, there's only 4 going into the Champions League this season from Italy, which means that, like we just mentioned, Como and Juve fighting 68 points apiece. So you look at the table, Milan in third, Roma fourth, Como, Juve, all fighting for 2 spots. They're all getting into Europe, but it just depends on who's getting into the Champions League. And that will be very interesting. Personally, I want to see Roma and Como get in there just because they're not regulars there. And, Juve and Milan, they're kind of like the OGs. They're always in and around that spot. I think it would be fun to see Roma and Como, get that done. Let's see. What else are we going to talk about?
It's
Go ahead. Can you hear? Oh, I think we're losing you.
Can you hear me?
Hey, there we go. Yeah, you're back. It's funny. I heard you say, "Can you hear me?" and then it went right back to this. But while we're trying to get Yudi back, we'll talk about the bottom of the table. We have Cremonese, Verona, and Pisa all in the bottom three right now. But Lecce, like we mentioned, only a point above Cremonese. So if there's a draw, there's a possibility that Cremonese can get past them. If they lose, then they're going down. So it's a big matchup between Cremonese and Como, and then Lecce taking on Genoa for that bottom last spot in the relegation playoff right there. That's essentially like a playoff. Okay. Yudi, are you back?
It's I don't know. It's not healthy today.
Well, we have a lot of storms in the Texas area where we are too. So I was thinking that it was probably me, but maybe it's the storms, it's the clouds. That's what it is. It's blocking the internet. What can we do about that? Nothing.
No, and actually here at São Paulo, it is we are in the middle of the winter, so there's a lot of rains, and today it is a very weird day with the climate, But yeah, that's it.
Hey, so is it cold right now, or not really? Oh, we're back. Can you hear me now? Okay, well, John, while we're getting him back, let's move right along because we have tapped out on the Serie A. We are going to Spain. We're going to La Liga. Okay. We are here. We are in Spain, and this is La Liga match day 38, the final match day. A lot more riding on these games, Yudi. There's a whole lot more teams down towards the bottom trying to not get relegated. Teams that never thought in a million years that they would be anywhere close to this, but here we are. Yeah. So we start off with our top match from this very, very last match day, and we have Girona taking on Elche. It's a 6-pointer on the last day of the season. It doesn't get more drama-filled than this. It's very, very simple. If Elche win, then Elche, Osasuna, Levante, Alaves, and Sevilla are all safe. So they are all rooting for an Elche win. But if Elche lose, Girona would shoot up to 43 points, and they would be safe. With a loss, Elche would still not technically be down because they're level on points with Levante and Osasuna. So it's a lot hairier if I'm blanking on the name I just said. If Girona end up winning. If Elche win, I think it's a lot cleaner. A lot more teams are safe. So we'll figure out how it works out. But Girona have not been great. So it feels like Elche will probably get that win. Yudi, this bottom of the table has been insane in La Liga, huh?
Yes, and I don't know, but it's a little bit sad to see the difference between the last season of Girona and this season. I don't know what's happened. Actually, I know what's happened. All their key players now are playing in different clubs. And sometimes it's very difficult to try to get another player that will correspond exactly at the same level from the last ones. Maybe this is part of the reasons, but I don't know. I'm rooting for Girona. I think they have a huge history, and let's see what's gonna happen in this game.
Yeah, they 2 seasons ago they were in the Champions League. They were giving the top 4 run for their money. Well, they ended up getting in the top 5 Champions League, and then the next season, Savinho ends up going to Manchester City. Dovbyk, who is the Golden Boot winner in La Liga, which is insane to think, goes to Roma. And now it's just been survival since then. So we'll have to see. You're right. But I think there's a lot of teams that will be hoping that Elche just get that win because they'll do a lot of people favors. Okay, let's move on to Saturday's full slate of games. We have Valencia taking on Barcelona. Valencia were just fighting to stay up not even a month ago, but with 10 points in the last 5 games, 10 points they've taken from those. They're now possibly a win away from getting into Europe, from fighting at the bottom. And that's how close this table is. But either way, 10 points shot them up. They're close to getting into Europe now. We'll see how Barca come out for this game. It could be a B squad for them. Last game, most of their team looking forward to the World Cup. This doesn't really mean anything to them. So Valencia could rest, or Barcelona could rest some of their stars, and Valencia might have a chance to get 3 points from this. I don't think they'll take it very seriously, but Valencia going from almost going down to getting into Europe would be crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah. It's a nothing to lose game, right? There's nothing else to worry in the Valencia side, and Barcelona, and there's nothing to say. They are killing all the league.
Yes. And I think to your point, if there's nothing to lose, Valencia know they're safe. They can just go out there and play free. They can play attacking, because if they lose 8-0, who cares? But Barcelona, their team, they don't want to get hurt because they're more worried about the World Cup. So
everybody will.
Yes,
exactly.
They're just like,
everybody
don't
will be playing for their national leagues, right?
Yes, exactly. Sure. So I think you're right. I think it'd be really cool to see Valencia end up sliding into the Conference League or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, we have Betis taking on Levante. And believe it or not, Levante are the most informed team in La Liga right now, with 3 straight wins, taking them all the way to 15th in the table after spending essentially the entire season in the bottom 3. I don't remember a time, Yudi, where they weren't in the bottom 3 and they end up being in 15th going into this last day. Betis have locked up a top 5 spot and they can't do much else. So Levante will be hoping to catch an unmotivated and just really unrelenting untrying, I guess is the best word. I don't even know if that's a word, but to Betis side that's just halfway on the beach, as we say. They need to win this, though. Levante need to win this, though, to be sure. And it could be a draw, could still be fine. But, man, I mean, it would be really cool to see Levante. They wouldn't be getting into Europe like Valencia, but, you know, they're the same, right, from Valencia. If they can end up getting this win and going and staying in the league after looking like they were just down and out, it would be a great story.
And we must also to point how Betis is playing differently, right? So they are like, I have the feeling that they are the teamwork is like working correctly. And Anthony, when Anthony enters into the Betis team, he literally changed the energy of the entire team, the club. So we can see Betis now with an identity, with something, with spirits, you know. So it's, I don't know, I am really enjoying to see all the Betis games. It's crazy.
You know, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I was a hater this season on Betis, because for the first half of it, it was just Anthony. You know, because they also have Giovanni Lo Celso, they have Isco, they have good teams, but they were all injured, and it was kind of just boring.
Yes.
Anthony, if Anthony wasn't doing anything, nothing was happening. But the end of the season, everyone's healthy, and they look like a fun team again. So I repented.
Yes.
I apologized last week, and I said, you know, this Betis side is looking good, and they're going into the Champions League, so it's going to be fun to see how they do in the Champions League next season.
Yes.
But yeah. So
and
we'll see.
Let's see our Brazilian boy Anthony playing. It will be interesting to see him to play into the Champions League. It will be very interesting. I'm very curious to see.
Because I think most of the time we think of him, he's obviously a good player, but his time with United, you know, it was a little weird, you know. But now he's showing like he is that dude. So good stuff.
Yeah.
The next game, though, Real Madrid taking on Athletic Club. Neither of these teams have anything to play for, Yudi, and neither of them want to get hurt. They're still nursing injuries. Like, they're trying to get back Nico Williams to full health, and no one wants to see Vinny Jr. or Valverde or any of these players get hurt. So I don't know how much this game's actually going to matter. It might just be a bunch of, you know, like a simulation.
Yeah, and the only person hurt in this entire story is Valverde. Sorry, I must to do this joke.
He hit the table. He hit the table. Yeah. Yes. Yes, we've talked about this this drama. Not even just that, but you know how
this is like a Mexican TV drama.
Yeah,
you know?
Yes, there you
crazy,
go. Like a novela. I know.
Yeah, the telenovela.
I never I didn't even hear about the 40 million signatures until you sent it to me, and we talked about it here. But it's great, 40 million. That I mean, Yudi, they said that there's never.
It's a lot of people, right?
They said there has never been more signatures on a humanitarian effort than there was for them to get him kicked out on this. Yeah. So, I mean, this is insane
crazy.
Stuff. Yes,
crazy
they're ready for the end of the season. The real question will be who's going to be taking over. We believe that is Jose Mourinho. Yes. Nothing has been confirmed yet, but that's going to be very interesting.
I believe all the rumors it will be true soon. So let's watch. But the question is, will Mourinho be able to like put order in this entire situation? Because Mourinho, he's like a very particular person, right? So he also had a lot of fights and situations during his entire career. So it would be very, very curious to see this next season of this telenovela, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yes, season 2 telenovela, Real Madrid. Oh man, yes, I can see it now. It'll be a lot of fun. But we do have more games. We have Alaves taking on Rayo Vallecano. Alaves are almost there, just about, but they need a point to be sure. So just a point or a draw or 3, yes, against Rayo. And Rayo, they'll still be fighting for Europe by the time. Well, yeah, so they'll have this game. But I mean, 3 days later, they're playing Crystal Palace in the Conference League final. So I don't know how much they're going to be playing this game. It might be just to put their starters out to get some minutes in their legs, that type of thing. I think it could be a perfect storm for Alaves to get a result, which means that they would also stay in La Liga next season. Very cool stuff.
A perfect storm for Alaves to snatch a result, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We talked about Girona and Elche. The next game we have Getafe taking on Osasuna. Getafe have a lot to play for to make sure they stay in the Conference League spot, which in itself is crazy to hear. I don't think of Getafe as one of those teams that I think of as like a yo-yo team. They're in and they're out.
Yes.
And now you're telling me they're going to be in the Conference League. They're going to be representing La Liga in Europe, which is just didn't think that was a possibility. But they're just a point above Rayo Vallecano in the table. So again, the Conference League final that Rayo's playing in. Well, let me just finish this and we'll jump into it. But on the flip side, if they're level on points with Celta, with a win and Celta loss, they could edge them out in head-to-head matches, but they would move into that spot. So Getafe have a reason to fight for this game. And Osasuna, they really just need to win to ensure that they stay in the league. So both of these teams have a lot to play for, but Osasuna they're coming into this game having lost 4 straight. And they are in striking distance of both Mallorca and Girona, who are in the bottom 3. So it's dangerous times for Osasuna.
Exactly.
They need to win.
Super dangerous combination. Mm-hmm.
And Osasuna is a team that I see as they're mid-table. They're just always in La Liga. They sometimes get up, sometimes they drop down. But I don't see them as a team that actually gets relegated. And so, yeah, they're very close to doing that. But what I was going to say about Getafe, so they're they're right above Rayo Vallecano for the Conference League spot, but Rayo, they're in the Conference League final. So if Rayo win that final, they would be going into the Europa League anyway. So it might work out in Getafe's favor. That's all I'm trying to say. There's better safe than sorry is a saying we have here. So, go win that game. But it's going to be fascinating to see which team pushes for it more. I feel like Osasuna because, if they lose, Yuri, they might not be in La Liga next season.
Yeah, maybe they have the heavy of the shirt will like do something for them right now.
That's right. Yep, the badge, playing for the badge, the Corinthians badge. Let's see it. Let's see it. Yes, there you go. Yes. All right. Next game, we have Celta Vigo taking on Sevilla. It's a big match for Sevilla as they have done the hard work in getting out of the bottom 3. But with 3 points keeping them safe at the moment, they still need at least a point to guarantee safety. Even if they were to lose, they would just need either Girona to lose or hope that not all the teams under them win, which is pretty much near impossible. Never say never, but it's going to be getting a point for Sevilla is going to be not as easy because Celta Vigo are also trying to lock up their Europa League placement, and they can do so with just a point. So I think in that term, Yudi, the best option for both these teams is just to draw. Like even a 0-0 sees both of them get what they want.
Both.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Which means, but man, I mean, like I mentioned, Sevilla, I feel like they're about 95% safe. They're going to be good, but they were so close to being, relegated, which is just, we just talked about how Unai Emery won the Europa League with Sevilla like 3 straight times, something like that. And now they're looking like a team that might be, almost relegated. Thankfully, they didn't. But last season, they finished 17th, so they barely stayed up. The good news for them is that Sergio Ramos he ended up with this other like money backing from banks and stuff. He bought the team. So Sevilla owned by their legend, Sergio Ramos. So we'll see how that turns out in the future.
Yeah, I hope it keeps like with a very good management, because Sevilla it's a very legendary club. So yeah,
absolutely. You see that even their jerseys, their kits, the red and the white stripes. I mean, that's just Sevilla. That's a team that's always there. So
yeah,
I'm glad that they're almost safe.
Sure.
One more match day and they will be. Opposite news though, Mallorca's future is not in their hands, and I saw a stat that said they're 95% to be relegated. So basically they're down is what everyone's saying. But they do have to beat an already relegated Real Oviedo side, that shouldn't be the hard part. They have to do that though, just to even have a chance of staying up. If they get 3 points, they'll also have to hope that Girona and Levante lose, because Girona are just above them in the table and Levante have the same goal differential. So it's a long shot, but it's not impossible for Mallorca. But it's looking bleak. And, we talk about it here, Yudi, because there's a friend of ours who's going to Mallorca in July. And so we were saying, oh, yes, let's stay up so that we can get shirts for La Liga team. I mean, we can still get shirts, but it's looking like they're not going to be in La Liga. So,
yeah, it's very sad when you are depending of a lot of other circumstances that you cannot control anymore. You needed to wait another team to win or to lose, and depending of the result, it will be good or bad for you. But yeah, it's a very difficult situation for them.
I think they'll be down, unfortunately. Yeah. And we also have Espanyol taking on Real Sociedad. Both teams are already safe. Real Sociedad already won the Copa del Rey. They're already in the Europa League. Yeah, they're good. The next game, Villarreal taking on Atletico Madrid, and they're battling for whoever finishes third. Whoever wins this will finish third. I think there's compensation for the higher you finish.
There's a prize money, right?
Yeah, but I mean, not terribly meaningful with that sense, but something that could be interesting to watch. But for the most part, it's going to be that relegation battle is really the key matches that you're going to be watching in La Liga if you're tuning in for their full slate of games on Saturday. Okay, we've said that. Now let's take a look at the table just so we can all get a good view of what's going down. As you can see, the top 5 locked in. They can change a little bit with Atletico Madrid and Villarreal playing on the last day, but again, top 5 locked in.
Points is crazy, right?
Yeah,
94. Yes. This is crazy.
Well,
what a moment for Barcelona, no?
Not only 94 points, but look at that, 94 goals, 21 more goals than Real Madrid.
Crazy.
I mean, they just outdid themselves. They dominated this league. And if you notice, they're not only by far the highest goals for. They have 33 goals let in. 33 goals in 37 matches. That's crazy. I mean, that just means they're just really good all around.
Let's see the next season, because there are some rumors that João Pedro will be the next guy that will replace Lewandowski in Barcelona.
So that would be really cool. First off, I'm glad you brought him up. I can't believe he's not going to the World Cup. I mean, come on. That's
tough conversation. Tough conversation. Yeah.
I mean, Igor Jesus, very good. Brentford striker, very good. We'll talk about the Prem here in a second. But there's no way that, I mean, Igor Jesus has been good for Brentford in spurts. João Pedro, he was banging in goals for Chelsea when he came over in the summer in the Club World Cup. I mean, he's been doing it all year, and it's sad. He's one of the guys that as a Tottenham Hotspur fan, I hate Chelsea, but I do love me some João Pedro. He's very good.
My only understanding from Ancelotti decision to take Igor Thiago instead of João Pedro, it's because, in my understanding, because Igor Thiago, he's a classic 9, strong guy to fight against the defenders, and João Pedro, he's he's faster, he's not the old school 9, so he's running into all the attacking areas, so he's and if you compare, we already have this skills and abilities with the other players in Brazil, so I don't know, maybe that's why Ancelotti choose Igor Thiago, but yeah, that's it. It's actually it's sad because I love João Pedro too, but that's it. It is what it is.
Yeah. That's, I think you're right. I think I said Igor Jesus. I meant Thiago. You got so many Igors that are over here.
Igor Jesus is the Nottingham Forest striker.
Yes. I meant Thiago. Yes. But yes, I mean, we know that he's scoring goals and he's been good, but I don't know. I mean, you're right. It's just the style of play probably, but poor João Pedro.
Sad,
okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
but yeah.
But if he does go to Barcelona, that would be really cool. I would love that. That'd be cool.
Sure.
Okay, but we know the top 5. It's Barcelona, it's Real Madrid, Villarreal, Atletico Madrid, and then Real Betis. They are all locked up into the Champions League spots. But we also are trying to figure out who's going to be in the Europa League and the Conference League, and we talked about it. Celta Vigo is in 6th place. 7th goes to Getafe right now, but just a point below them is Rayo Vallecano, and a point below them is Valencia. So it's very possible that the 7, 8, 9 spot is all switched up by the time we're at the end of this match day. But really, the fight, Yuri, is down towards the bottom, where you can see that Girona in 18th, well, really from the 19th spot, Mallorca in 19th, all the way to Sevilla in 13th, everyone is up for grabs. No one is mathematically safe yet in that area. It's looking increasingly likely that it's probably going to be Mallorca as one of the teams that go down. But like we talked about it, Girona and Elche, it's 18, it's 17. They directly play each other. That's the game. That's the main one that we're going to be watching. And I feel like, I don't know which one I'm preferring, but I think it'll be a lot crazier, Yuri, if Girona get that win, because then there's so many different mathematical equations,
possibilities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we'll see how that ends up unfolding. I think they all play at the same time, right? Is it all? Let's see. I know the schedule is just up, but all 2:00. So
wow, it will be crazy to watch it. Yeah.
Every goal is going to be changing everything, and it's the same thing in the Prem as well. So okay, that is it for La Liga. Good stuff there. Let's move on to England. Let's go to the Premier League. Okay, we do have some big news and notes to come out of England, not necessarily from the Premier League, but just from the English FA as a whole. And this is the scandal of a century, Yuri. Not really the century, but it's a massive, massive deal for English football as they've expelled Southampton from the playoff final this weekend, where they won Hull City for the chance to play in the Premier League the next season. They were expelled from the final after having advanced by knocking out Middlesbrough. That's tough to say, but due to being caught spying on them practicing. So specifically 3 different instances they would confess to in court, and the main one being against Middlesbrough, where they had an intern standing behind a tree filming their practice on an iPhone, it looked like.
My God.
Yes, right. And now you might say, exactly. And you might say this is a very, very harsh penalty, but it's a just one, because this is the single most expensive final in European football, might be football worldwide, because the loser gets nothing, Yuri, but the winner gets promoted to the Premier League, which is 150 million guaranteed just from TV money. So, it's the most expensive game. You can't cheat in it. And the Saints appealed the ruling. They lost. And now there are rumors swirling around about the team, the players trying to find loopholes in the ways to get out of their contracts, saying that, whatever happened, they can find a way to get out. But they will almost certainly have to sack their manager. And there's really no telling how far the disciplinary returns will be. But there's not even to mention that they're starting off the next season with minus 4 points. So they took 4 points away from them into next season. And remember,
absolute chaos.
Exactly. This is all because, if you recall, Marcelo Bielsa was caught recording training sessions from other teams and with Leeds, and it became a whole thing. But at that time, there was no rules. He just got fined, a slap on the hand, and they said, don't do that again. Well, the FA kind of saw that and said, hey, we can't let this happen again. We need to make sure there are strict rules and guidelines. And so they put those into place. And so to get caught doing it and get kicked out of the championship final is absolutely crazy, Yuri. Crazy.
Yep. There's nothing else to say. Just to, I don't know. It remembers me the 90s cartoons, when you are trying to do some pranks with the other guy, But
yeah,
this is crazy,
yes. It's like childish, and somehow it gets
caught. Extremely childish.
What I don't understand is like it was a guy, literally a guy recording with his iPhone. Is that gonna go back and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna build a whole game plan around? Yeah. How much could he actually show them? It's just so dumb. And the fact that the fans, that's really who it affects, right? The players and the fans and all the money and everything that they're going to have to go back to this grueling season to just have the chance to get back in when they were one game away. Shame on them. What else can we say?
Yep.
It's their fault. They did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least they learned the lesson, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll hope they did. Okay. That is the big news coming out of the Premier League, as they also picked up their first trophy in Europe with Aston Villa, as we talked about already. So let's jump into our matches from Premier League match day 38. I forgot the final one. And it's hard choosing a one, Yudi, that is the main one, because there are so many in the Prem that is going to be moving teams around. And for the final day, we'll talk about it all right now, because it all goes down on Sunday. And we start off with your runners-up, Manchester City, taking on the newly crowned Europa League champions, Aston Villa. And I have every reason to believe, Yudi, that Villa will drop points in this game, because I can't see them winning the Europa League and not going and partying and drinking and, enjoying themselves just to come back a few days later to play a pointless game. I mean, not totally pointless. Well, I guess it is, because they won the Europa League, which means they're in the Champions League already.
Or maybe they are in this like victory energy, and they can beat City. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you would, I was going to say.
Yeah, it will be right? the Pep's last game, So I don't know.
Exactly.
Everything can happen, right?
If it was not Pep's last game at the Etihad, then I would say probably. But there's no way I can see City losing his final game at home in front of those fans. They're going to want to win and send him off in a great light. So we'll see what happens. Also, there's a few things riding on this game, not necessarily for these teams, because again, City have nothing to play for. Aston, they're already in the Europa League, or in the Champions League for next season. They have nothing to play for. But other teams are relying on them to end up getting a result, and we'll talk about it as we run through these. So our next match, Brighton take on Manchester United. Brighton, they need a win to confirm that they are getting into Europe, because Chelsea and Brentford are only 1 point behind them. And United, they have nothing to play for, but we still haven't heard from Michael Carrick and team to see if he's actually going to be the Manchester United permanent manager. And I imagine they don't want to get, a big loss on the final day and then announce, hey, this is our guy. It's just not going to be a good look. So I feel like Manchester United will be a little bit more up for this game than otherwise would be. But also very close to being Brighton in Europe once again. Could be fun.
For sure. Yeah, it will be. But on the other hand, I don't know, but it's good to see Manchester United in the position that they are right now, because and if we see the last seasons, Manchester United totally lost it with their managers, and their strategies. I don't know. It seems that Manchester United is like how can I say reconnecting with the winning roots.
Yes.
Let's see.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Michael Carrick has brought them back to reality, back to life, like a zombie. He's revived them. I don't know. Maybe a zombie is not the best way because they are still undead, but you get what I'm saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have Fulham taking on Newcastle. This one really has nothing riding on it. Both teams are safe. They're not getting into Europe. So nothing on that one. A big one for the team that I love, Spurs taking on Everton. Everton have no chance of getting into Europe, really. I mean, they could mathematically, but it would take them beating Spurs by like 7 or 8 goals, which is just, I mean, I guess possible, but not totally possible. But anyway, Everton have failed to win any of their last 5 games, but they can still ruin Spurs' future if they send them down and they win this away at Spurs. I mean, really, if Spurs need to find a way to get this win, West Ham, of course, if they win, then it's a guarantee that Spurs need to win. But if Spurs even get a point from this game, then it's all they need. They've won twice at home all season, though, Spurs have, and they can draw and win this one. It doesn't have to be a win. They can draw in it too. But either way, it can't be a loss. And man, I'm so nervous for this, Rudy. I can't tell you how nervous I am for this one.
Everything that I said about Manchester United, I convert in sad feelings about the Spurs, because I was like watching Spurs during this season, and they were like going down. And I was like, what is happening? They have an excellent team, an excellent players. What happened with Spurs, Adam? What happened to them?
Honestly, the best way to describe it is they had, because of the Europa League win last season, coming into this season with Ange Postecoglou, I feel like it would have been a pretty good deal. But what happened is they sacked him. They got rid of the only guy who won a trophy with this team for years and years. That was the thing, right? Spurs, they can't win a trophy. And he finally did it. And then they sack him. And they bring in another guy. And Thomas Frank was a good coach from Brentford. He did good things. But he was never going to play the type of football, the type of game that Tottenham Hotspur fans, and including myself, I mean, I don't get to go all the time, but the fans that are there all the time, they expect a certain level of play, the way they play, right? We don't play like with Jose Mourinho and Conte. They played a different brand, and it just didn't work because it's not the way that Spurs play. Thomas Frank was the same way, and it kind of broke the spirit of the team. They were coming off a win and a high, and they wanted to go out there and just take on teams. And he was like, no, don't do that. Sit back. Let's just play pragmatic. Let's let the game unfold in front of us. And they kept losing and losing and losing. And ultimately, I mean, we went through Thomas Frank, and then it went to, I'm blanking on his, Igor Tudor. And then now with Roberto De Zerbi, he's finally said, you know what? These guys, they need an arm around them, and let's see if we can get them to be safe. So it's really, I don't know if we can say anything tactical. I think it's just the team is broken. They need to, if we can get a win or a draw, stay in the Prem, go into the summer with Roberto De Zerbi, I think it'll be way different next season. But that's not if it's in the championship.
Yes. Yeah, it must. Yeah,
you're right.
It must be different. There's no other option. It's one of the biggest. I
don't want to see this championship.
So yeah. Let's wait. I hope everything went well this season, and then they will be able to like recalculate the way and do different into the next season. So yeah, let's see.
Yes. Not to mention all the injuries. I mean, if I talk about injuries, I'll sound like a crying fan, but there's been so many injuries for Spurs this season. But there's just one game, Yuri. Just 1 point. We just need a draw.
One game.
Just a God. one point.
I never asked you anything. I just need 1 point.
Yes, exactly.
Point.
That's it. That's all I need. Oh, don't get me started on it, Yuri. I don't even want to think about it until I have to. So, okay, let's move on. The next game, though, is Liverpool taking on Brentford. And Brentford have gotten themselves one win away from getting into Europe for the first time in their history. But they would essentially have to beat Liverpool, which usually you'd say is a hard thing to do, Yuri, but not so much right now. The form that Liverpool have been in, I think that the stakes make this one a little bit more important for Liverpool because, of course, they're trying to stay in the Champions League spot, and it's possible that if they lose, that Bournemouth can catch them, and that's they're trying to make sure they stay there. But for Brentford, for a team that we came into the season, again, Spurs took not only they took their manager in Thomas Frank, but Spurs took all of their coaching staff pretty much. And then we had Mbeumo go over to Manchester United. We had other players. I'm blanking on their names. And then, I mean, they just continued to be good this season. And now they're a win away from being in their first European season ever, when everybody thought they would be close to relegation. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's the moment to Igor Thiago shine, right? So he needs to shine right now, our boy, our striker into the Brazilian national team. So, yeah, let's see.
And Joao Pedro will be over there looking at him like, hope he misses every shot. Okay, we have Burnley taking on Wolves. And this one is being coined not El Clásico, but El Lástico or El Crapico. You can choose these teams. Both teams really bad. They're the bottom teams in the league. Nothing. Obviously, they're both gone.
Maybe the saddest game of the
yes,
of
exactly.
The season, right?
Who's going to be a little bit less sad? We'll find out. But we do have a big one between Nottingham Forest taking on Bournemouth. And Forest have locked up their safety for next season, and the Cherries have locked up European football, but the Cherries know that they have a better chance of getting into the Champions League if Villa lose and Liverpool win. Because to get past Liverpool for that fifth spot will take a lot, because they would have to win, Liverpool lose, and then there's a goal differential that we have to worry about. But because Villa are already in the Champions League, if Villa finish in the fifth spot, then that means that the Champions League spot would go to Bournemouth in the sixth place spot. So very cool that Bournemouth can end up being in the Champions League. That's a team that you would want to see. It's fine to get the bigger teams from the Premier League and the Champions League, but it's the ones that don't usually get there, like the Bournemouth, the Brentfords, the Brightons. That would be cool to see. And in this game, Nottingham Forest, again, nothing to play for. I think Bournemouth can get the win. And that's where, how do you pronounce Ryan? Hyen?
Hyen.
Hyen. Great player, though. He's been a lot of fun, huh?
I must admit, I have a fun fact here to share about Hyen. Last year, Corinthians reached the final of the Brazil Cup.
Okay.
And it was Corinthians against Vasco da Gama, that is a club in Rio de Janeiro. And this club, Hyen, was playing against Corinthians in that game, And I was in the Corinthians stadium watching the game, and Hyen playing, he was killing the game, He was awesome, Fortunately, his individual abilities, it wasn't able to win the game, because Corinthians won the game and we got the trophy. But after that game, I was like, man, this boy will fly. No, he was stunning in the game. He was like doing the typical Brazilian moves, and cutting the defenders, and doing crazy things with the ball, and like 1-2 weeks after the game, I heard that he was like going to Bournemouth, and like he's killing in Bournemouth, playing a lot, and he will be in the World Cup with Brazil. So this guy is crazy, So I'm very anxious to see this game, because always when Hyen is playing, you will see something different. It will be amazing, So yeah.
And imagine if he ends up still being with Bournemouth next season, but in the Champions League. Very cool. So we'll find out.
Super.
They have a little bit of a test I think they'll be able to get the win. But again, like we've said with most of the other teams, whenever you have to win and then other teams have to lose and blah, 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 it's hard. But either way, they'll be in the Europa League. So that should be fun for Hayan. I'll get there. Okay. West Ham taking on Leeds. This is another one where it's the other side of the coin for Spurs versus Everton, except the fate for West Ham is not in their hands. They have to win, and no other results will work unless they win. So West Ham get a win. They need Spurs to lose, and that's the way that they can get in, because even if a draw, there's such a big goal differential. They would have to score, I think, 10 or 11 goals against Leeds, and it's just not going to work. So you're going to have a West Ham win and a Tottenham Hotspur loss in order for West Ham to stay up, which, coming from a Spurs fan, it just saying those words is crazy to me. But Yuri, it's not looking good for West Ham, and hopefully so for me. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm biased though.
No other result works. I don't know. Let's see what's going to happen. But yeah, maybe it's the end of the line.
It's a team that won the Conference League just 2 years ago. Now looking at being relegated, just tells you how good the teams that are that mid-table to lower are in the Premier League right now.
Yep.
Okay, moving on. We have Sunderland taking on Chelsea. Sunderland are right up there with the chance to get into Europe. They are close to it. It doesn't look like they'll end up being able to, but it's not mathematically impossible. It would take Brentford, Chelsea, and Brighton all losing, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah, right. It's not completely impossible, but it's very, very highly unlikely. And Chelsea right now, we'll see where they are in the table in just a moment, but they're trying to get back into Europe, but no one wants to see Chelsea in the Conference League. They're too deep of a team. They didn't even play their starters until the quarterfinals, and it's just not a team that we want to see in the Conference League. So we hope that they don't get in, and that also that Joao Pedro goes to Barcelona. So that's what we'll say for that. Okay, next game, Palace versus Arsenal. This one, it's just a glorified simulation, Yudi. Palace, they're playing the Conference League final against Rayo Vallecano just days after this one, so I doubt that they end up taking it too seriously. Arsenal already won the title, and I don't even know, did I not cover that on this? That's crazy if I didn't. Maybe I did. I don't know. Either way, because of Manchester City being unable to beat Bournemouth, they end up giving the title away to Arsenal. And the last day, this game means nothing for them. They won already.
Yeah. They already proved themselves, right? So it's fine. That's cool.
Yeah, I think that it's good for both of these teams, because Arsenal, they're not worried about playing the game. Palace, they're worried about something else. So it's fine. It's all good for these two teams. And that is the slate, the full slate for the Prem. So a lot riding on the top spots for Europe, and then also the big clash between the final two spots to see who's relegated between West Ham and Spurs. But let's pull up the table and check out the final standings. All right, let's see here.
Yeah, West Ham, Burnley, Wolves,
Spurs. Boom, dum, dum. We will have to. Man, I'm just so nervous already. I feel like it's going to be a game that Spurs have to end up scoring early, because if not, then the pressure and the anxious, feelings, it'll start to bubble up. And Spurs, like I mentioned, they've only won twice, 2 games all season at home, and so this is just not good times. But I'd rather be in Spurs' shoes than in West Ham, because West Ham, they can't control their fate. Spurs just need a point. That is it.
Yeah, exactly. Whew. So please, Richarlison, please, one goal, one goal only.
Yes.
Do something this time, please.
Yes, please, sir, please. I'm the same way. And then you look at the top of the table. Of course, Arsenal won, like we mentioned. Manchester City second. United locking up that third spot. The really interesting part of this part of the table is the 4th spot and the 5th spot, where you see Aston Villa. They are locked up right there, but they're right where Liverpool could catch them. And again, in order for Bournemouth to get into the Champions League, they need Aston Villa to lose, who they play Manchester City. And if they lost, they would hop into the 5th spot, which means that the 6th spot would get in, which means that everything would push down. So we'd have 2 teams, Chelsea and Brighton in the Europa League, and then Brentford in the Conference League. So anyway, a lot that can change, but man, Nudie, it's going to be interesting to see how this all folds out. And hopefully I'm still talking about my team in the Premier League come the end of the match day. Woo, getting close.
And I must admit that I'm super curious to see the next season how Manchester City will do with the next coach, and if Manchester United will be able to keep the same level into the next season. So how Liverpool will play next season without Salah, So we have a lot of news that I'm super curious to watch. Let's see.
You're right. We'll have to do our breakdown. We do like a preview of the Premier League season. So we'll have to bring you back on to talk about it, because there's, a league with no Pep Guardiola is just crazy to me. But then also not only the teams at the top that you're talking about there, with Michael Carrick taking over, and then Slot trying to, he seems like he lost the whole team, but now he's going to have no Salah. But then not only that, you have teams like Fulham, and you have teams like Bournemouth, and possibly Aston Villa. These teams are all losing their coaches too. So interesting times. And of course, hopefully Spurs will be with De Zerbi full offseason in the Prem.
Yes, right. For sure.
Enough. I know.
It will be.
All right. Well, we did it all. Hey, DJ, play our music. Yudi, thank you so much, sir, for joining us. We had a great conversation with these. A lot of stuff to watch. We got through it. A big slate of games coming up, and I believe we can convince Yudi to come back out to talk about all.